Does this look like a medium to you? Look at this. It's like Instagram model medium. But then believe it or not, it does fit. Welcome to Questions Over Coffee. Today I am drinking Avoca coffee and I'm going to do my best to pronounce this Cabre Kiengombre. I don't know. I asked them when I was in there the other day. They're in Fort Worth, and I literally had two different employees try to pronounce it, meaning they could pronounce it right. I kept asking them to repeat themselves because I couldn't get it right. But anyway, it's a Kenyan coffee. It's really good. It's a single origin. I really like it. Also, I love the fact that Avoca is here in Fort Worth. I love drinking their coffee. I have it on a subscription, and it's good if you're interested. So, questions for Questions Over Coffee. The first comes from Matthew on YouTube, who asks, I've always been an avid user and carrier of assisted opening knives like the Kershaw Speed Safe, but I see a lot of mill LEO guys out there only carrying manual folders. What's your take on pros and cons of manual versus automatic for an EDC defensive knife? So my personal take, just to kind of clarify on a defensive knife, is that I don't use it for normal everyday tasks like opening boxes and things like that. So my take on what I do with a defensive knife is a little different than some people. So I don't take it out of my pocket unless there's a clear need to defend myself. And my philosophy on assisted opening knives is that I feel like it's kind of like the peacock of the knife world. So if I had an assisted opening, I don't need to use the assisted opening to open my knife for me. There's no reason to do that because I'm just as quick with a standard opening knife as I am with an automatic, especially if you're really into making the knife draw as quick as possible. I don't really see the reason to do that. You should look into the Emerson Wave. I carried a Wave for a long time. However, I got away from that because as you open the Emerson Wave, it catches on your pocket and it deploys the knife. And you're typically in front of you, and now the blade of the knife is away from the threat. So I don't really like that method for deploying the Emerson as much anymore. I still love Emerson knives. However, I'm just not a fan of that Wave feature as I've kind of grown in my evolution with knife carry and stuff like that. So I like being able to control the opening of a knife. That's why I prefer manual over automatic. I don't think there's any kind of rush to get into a knife fight. If somebody draws a knife, I'm probably going to back up rather than, run right at the threat, trying to draw my knife as fast as I can. So I'm more on the impression that I want someone to not know I have it and then deal a devastating blow, that kind of thing. So as it comes out of my pocket, I'm just going to open it like this and face the blade towards the threat. Like, that's my first move with a knife in a defensive situation. So I don't need an automatic knife for this because it's going to give that telltale, like, bunk. It's going to click. It's going to make a noise. Now people are going to know I just deployed a knife. It just thumped out of my pocket, and now I'm kind of showing my card, so to speak. I would rather draw it, quietly, and now I've got the blade of my knife towards the threat, just like this, and it's obviously going to be much lower, and I can even keep it against my leg if I need to, and use it when I have to. So that's why I'm not a fan of assisted opening knives, for that reason. And that's really kind of my take on it. I don't feel like there's much else to say on it. I don't really want to get into defensive knife techniques and stuff like that, other than to say I want the ability to control when somebody sees my knife. I want to be able to draw it, underneath the table if I need to, or next to my side, and I don't want someone to know that I drew it. A lot of times with the automatics, people throw them up like the Stand By Me movie and as a show of force. That's not what I'm into with knives. I don't want to, hey, you better leave me alone kind of thing. So anyway, that's my take on that. So next question comes from Chai Nudes, I think is how you say that, on Twitter. I recently learned that bank deposit boxes have zero insurance. What do you suggest for a small home safe around 2 cubic feet that doesn't cost a fortune? I'm not looking for a $100 safe or a $1,000 safe. So first of all, I had to look that up myself too, because I was under the impression there was still FDIC insurance for safe deposit boxes, so I learned something today too. There is not. You are absolutely correct. There is absolutely zero, none, zip insurance on the contents of what's in your safety deposit box. And that was new to me. So I don't have one of those, but I was going to look into one at one point. I was considering using that as a way to store valuables in when I'm out of town or something. That way they're not in the house whatsoever. However, I've came up with another philosophy on that. And since I've kind of given up the whole safety deposit box thing, and I'm kind of glad I have, because I probably would have learned that along the way, but that's a good point. So as far as a safe, I would highly recommend one that is bolted down. Don't get a little small safe like this that can just be picked up by 2 people and carried out of your house, that type of thing. Even if you have a small one, I would bolt that down too. So that's just going to give you more time, and the whole thing about security is buying time. The more time that it takes somebody to get into something or take something from your house, the better it is and the safer it stays. So I would definitely recommend a bolt down option as the first thing. You don't have to spend $1,000 on something like that, but Sentry is a good brand. I also feel like Canon is a great brand too. I've had safes from Canon. Those are more the gun safe variety, but honestly, if you've got any guns whatsoever, my personal opinion is they should be in a safe locked up until you need them, unless it's kind of a defensive weapon that you have kind of strategically placed. But at the same time, I feel like that's a valuable item, and that's something that reflects on the safe, so why not just buy a bigger safe? I've kind of gotten into the whole like concealment option with safes. I'm kind of leaning more towards a safe gives a thief a visible indicator that, hey, the good stuff is in there. So, you know, when thieves see a safe, it can be kind of an attractant, not really a deterrent. So, you know, maybe strategically placing that in the closet of a spare bedroom or something like that, rather than in like your master closet or something. Really, I guess you could look at those brands. They do have stuff that's in, you know, the price ranges. So you said I'm not looking for a $100 safe or a $1,000 safe. So I'd say they have, both those brands have something in between that you can probably find. Okay, next question comes from Chase on Twitter. What do you think about backpacks with straps featuring quick release buckles? Should I worry about buckle failure under heavy weight load? Is it easy to mod on any pack? Recommendations? So I actually modded quick release buckles or slide release buckles, whatever you call them. This is kind of a Fast Tech style slide release buckle. So this is kind of the concept that I feel like you're talking about. It's got that signature click when you insert the male end and the female end. And I like these. We use them on a previous generation of our messenger bags. I've since gone away with them because we even had them on the shoulder strap. So my philosophy with that is that I didn't like it here because someone could always just come by and snap the strap, and then now your bag's on the ground or they're grabbing it and running with it. So that's why when we kind of came up with the new canvas messenger bags, we did away with that and kind of routed the strap into some tri-glides on the side of each side of the bag so that it was routed a little better. It does take a little bit longer to adjust it. However, you lose that ability, you lose the ability for a thief to have that option. So now I know that's not the same on a backpack. It's just kind of a demonstration of something we've done with our products. Now, a slide release buckle is great. They do have a weight rating. I unfortunately do not know what that is, but it's pretty heavy duty. I've had them on backpacks before that I've had a lot of weight in, and I've never had issues. However, take that with a grain of salt. I think there is still a weight rating that those would fail at if you kind of had a backpack strap hung up. And that's kind of the point of having those, is that in the situation that you do get hung up on a strap, you can just clip that and open it, and now you're free. So that's kind of the beneficial side of that I can see. However, on a regular backpack, I don't see the need to have them unless you are planning for, obviously no one ever plans for an emergency situation like that of having to cut themselves out of their backpack, but that would be the benefit for it. So what I did with an old Alice pack is I actually modded that by taking little small zip ties, and I put like 4 or 5 little zip ties onto like this portion here. So I took the existing metal buckle that was on the Alice pack, and I should have grabbed it, it's in the back. But I modded the, the female portion of the buckle to that metal part, and then I used the leftover strap and routed this through and had a tri-glide that kind of locked the strap in there. And I used that as a way to quick release the lid on the Alice pack. So that was my reasoning for it. It wasn't actually on the shoulder strap, because Alice pack shoulder straps already have a quick release thing, which I had taped on my Alice pack because it kept coming off. So that's kind of a downside of having those quick releases too. If they're not functioning correctly, it can actually be more of a hindrance than a help. Okay, last question comes from Codename Hannibal on YouTube. He has asked this question multiple times. I apologize for not answering it. I think you worded it a different way this time, and I kind of figured out a way to answer the question. I've really never thought that I could answer this properly because you listed a bunch of different fleeces to compare. And rather than compare the fleeces, I thought what really needs to be compared is the fabric they're made out of, rather than each individual piece itself. Because you have, can you discuss and show the difference between PCU level grid fleece, ECWS Gen 3 level 2, and Condor base 2 grid fleece? First of all, I don't buy anything from Condor, so I couldn't show that one. But the PCU grid fleece, level 2, and the ECWS, what they really share in common with each other, and probably even the Condor, unless they're buying knockoff material, which I wouldn't doubt, but the grid fleece material itself is made by Polartec. So it's not made by the military. It's not what did you say? So it's not ECWS specific. It's ECWCS specific. It's not PCU specific. It's literally Polartec specific. So this is what grid fleece looks like. This is from Polartec. So all that the military is doing is they're contracting a company to sew a particular pattern for them into that. So the ECWCS and the PCU share the same material. So there's nothing really different about those. I did look up the ECWCS stuff, even though I don't have it. They have a thumb loop. So in their level 2 top, they've got a hole right here so you can, put your thumb through there like we do with our mass hoodies. So that is something they have on theirs, but however, they're all using the same material. So this is like a PCU Gen 1, this is a PCU Gen 2. You can see the cut's a little different, so they had this kind of V-neck style thing where they had a piece that came down here and was sewed, versus they just decided to chop it in the middle on this design. So it's really just a pattern specific thing. So Gen 1 kind of had this grid fleece area on the back of the neck, whereas Gen 2 opted for a different kind of collar here in the back. So there's some little generational specifics, but overall it's still using that same grid fleece material from Polartec. So hopefully that answers your question. Apologize for taking so long to answer that one. I know you've been asking it for a while, but I really had to come up with a good way to explain it. All right, guys, thanks for watching our Questions Over Coffee segment of Gear Tasting. If you have questions, remember to use the # Gear Tasting on any social media network, and we'll find them and answer them here on the show. As always, please subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. I think that's the only place to watch it, maybe the website, but it's still an embed from YouTube. So anyway, click the little subscribe button, click the little bell that notifies you when we have a new video, and you'll be the first to know, and it'll help us too with our subscriptions. Having you subscribe not only builds our subscriber base, but allows YouTube to show our videos to other people based on the popularity. So very much appreciate your subscription. And if you're interested in supporting our show further, please check out patreon.com/ITSTactical, where you can sign up as a patron and allow us to give you some stuff in return. Thanks for watching.